ladies and gentlemen, this legislation concerns the right to carry a firearm on certain public property in the state of Idaho. The changes proposed in this legislation concern the people's right to carry firearms on property owned by the state and its political subdivisions that are normally and habitually open to the public. I want you to remember that word, normally, those words, normally and habitually used by the public, but are being leased, rented, or provided by contracted private people, organization, or groups. This legislation amends Section 183302 to provide that on all such property, all such public property, there will be no prohibition. What's behind this, and this is kind of a cleanup bill that we had from last year that was a cleanup bill, is that there was an incident in North Idaho where there was an event going on, and there was a court case. The court ruled in favor of the people who had leased the grounds, and this we cleaned up part of it last year. This cleans up the rest of it. What this essentially does for us is it makes sure that we never wind up like our neighbor to the west. I don't know if you've been watching the news lately, but our neighbor to the west now has done nothing but spend the last 2 years encroaching on the rights of citizens of the United States and their Second Amendment. What this does, and it doesn't do anything
How's your
else than
NRA?
this, means that
Are your NRA
anywhere
dues
that
up?
you could
Are you a
normally carry
lifetime member of the NRA?
where we carry, where public is,
There's
public
25,000
comes in
NRA
openly,
members in
habitually using
Idaho.
streets,
There's
parks,
1.8 million
fairgrounds, these
people.
areas where no one ever bothers you ever at any time, so that you don't show up one day and all of a sudden there's a sign that says, well, today you can't do that. This eliminates that. We went into code, and I just want to clear up some things really quick. This does not alter anything that happens on a university campus or its grounds.
Yeah, in other
Those
words, if somebody has an event, then you can show up with your AR-15 and your Glock 40 and
those policies are all in place.
Shotgun.
In really big event centers like the Napa Center, just so you know, we've been in
six-shooter,
contact with the mayor of Napa
intimidate
and the
people.
gentleman that takes control of that center. It doesn't affect that because that place is
you seem to think that you're the only one
open.
that
You can't just walk in there
your
on
clan
your
is the
own.
only one that
Everything
can have
they do is under contract
a sidearm.
with admission and control and licensure. So it doesn't affect any of these areas. It affects the areas where we walk around every day, like this building and other places, and all of a sudden one day you show up and now there's a sign. And what we want to do is we want to protect the Second Amendment.
Oh, yeah,
Our First
baloney.
Amendment.
The Second Amendment protects the First Amendment.
And somebody wants to go there and
Poppycock
protest them.
baloney.
According
I
to the
remember
First
when we
Amendment,
didn't
you
have
can't
all
stop
these
them.
guns.
And you shouldn't be
Prior
able
to
to stop me from
1980,
walking
when
through
the
the park
NRA was
either.
taken over by
These are
a politician,
grounds
lobbyist,
governed by the
who
state of
turned it
Idaho.
into
Idaho's constitution is kind of clear in this
a
area.
political
It says
organization
no
to sell
municipality
guns
can
with
make a law
fear.
greater than the state
Been very
has already
successful,
made.
that's for
And
sure.
this
But
holds us to
we've
that.
got 35,000
With that, I would
people that
appreciate your
are
green
killed
light
by
to serve the Second
firearms
Amendment
every
in the
year
state
in
of
this
Idaho.
country.
Thank you.
Thank you, good gentlemen. You've heard the motions for debate on the motion. Good lady 32.
I just have a question. Will the gentleman yield?
Gentleman from 2 yield to a question from the lady from 32.
Gentleman yields.
Gentleman yield.
So, Mr. Representative, then could they take an assault rifle, like just hang it over their shoulder and walk into a private event that's held at a public park, and that's okay? Because I didn't even think about this when I was in committee, so I'm just wondering.
Gentleman 2.
Mr. Speaker, good lady, the Second Amendment is clear. We're dealing with weapons, so that would be included, just like somebody can walk through this building, and we've even seen it in testimony in committee where someone had an AR on their back. That is correct.
Really? I can bring my
Debate
AR
on the motion.
to the
Gentleman
Capitol
16.
and they won't say nothing?
Thank you, Mr.
My
Speaker. To
AR-15?
debate.
Gentleman has the floor.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Friends, start by saying the cities don't like this. What we've done is to basically roll back what was good legislation last year that removed ambiguity to insert more ambiguity about where and when you can bring a weapon. The other issue I've got with this is that the good gentleman's definition of normally and habitually is probably different from my definition of normally and habitually. And so if that's the key term in this, and it's not particularly well defined, that's going to create even more ambiguity.
He's a veteran,
And
Mr.
I think
Achilles. He's trained like I am and knows the lethality
Comparing
of
this
military
to
weapons,
the First Amendment,
especially the
as a
AR-15.
the Second Amendment, a weapon is not equivalent to speech.
Yes.
And I disagree with the good gentleman from 2 on that fundamental premise. I ask for your no vote.
Heard the
Attaboy.
motion. Gentleman from 1
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to debate against the bill.
has the floor.
I too am from North Idaho. I've had numerous contacts and calls from home. The roots of this go back to the festival at Sandpoint. Many of us are probably aware there was some lawsuits involved in this. Last year we passed some legislation to give some clarity to things. This bill takes that away. This bill essentially steps on private property rights. It's probably well known around here, but I'll say it again. If we're going to have entertainment acts come in to private events, like a concert of some sort, there are stipulations to that. If we have a community like the city of Sandpoint that wants to host that and they want to rent out a field, that's a big important piece for us. And as far as I know, we've not allowed firearms in there, and they have private security and they have lots of other things. So they're very careful about these events. I can't vote for something that would hurt my community like this would. So I'm a no. Thank you.
Good on you.
For the debate on the motion, gentleman 7
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate.
Gentleman has the floor.
Pro Second Amendment bill should pass.
Yeah, NRA
Gentleman
all the
13.
way.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to debate.
Gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
What are
good
you afraid
gentleman
of there,
from
sir?
16 brought up the terms normally and habitually and the definitions. There was testimony in committee that the reason that those were not spelled out in Idaho statute is that they are very well established terms all across the United States with respect to case law. There is tons of case law utilizing the terms normally and habitually. Interestingly enough, when this bill came up, I believe it was 4 years ago in my committee, the city of Nampa is the one that had an issue with it, the Fort Idaho Center. We brought the NRA in, we brought the city of Nampa in, we brought the bill's sponsor in, and the bill's sponsor would not negotiate at all with the city of Nampa, so we didn't move the bill forward. I commend the good gentleman that's bringing this bill forward. They reached out to the city of Nampa. They called my mayor. They called the Fort Idaho Center. The Fort Idaho Center said, we are fine with the legislation.
Yeah,
as it's currently
right.
written.
Right, crane and crane
With
and
respect to
crane.
the cities, that's new information.
Yeah.
Association
know
of
that,
Cities never testified in committee.
The
I don't have any
children
paper on my
are
desk saying
killed
the
by,
Association of Cities is opposed to the legislation.
by more guns.
So the
That's
good
a-
gentleman from 16 might be a little
come
wired
on.
in a little bit more to the
400
cities
million
than I am.
guns. Yeah, we need
But
more,
I don't
don't
have
we?
that information, and there was no
How
testimony
much
by the
money
cities in
does the
committee.
NRA
This
send
is a
you?
good piece of legislation. The gentleman's done a fine job. He's worked hard on it,
Yeah.
and we're on solid footing here to ask for your
Yeah.
green light.
Okay, you're gonna write the NRA to
For the
get
debate
a
on the
check?
motion. Gentleman from 1
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate.
Gentleman has the floor.
Just really quickly, this bill has to do with public property that is maybe being used by a private entity. It's not about private property.
What does that
For the
mean?
debate on the motion, gentleman from 1.
All right, just to
For
address
what
the
purpose did the gentleman from 1
debate for the second time.
Is there anybody who wishes to debate the motion for the first time? Hearing none, the gentleman from 1 may debate the bill for the second time.
All right, just a clarification. I have paperwork that I've received in my mailbox from the Association of Cities that they do not support this. They strongly oppose it, actually. Thank you.
For the debate on the motion for the second time. Hearing none, would the gentleman from 2 care to close the debate?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The gentleman from 1 already said the one thing I wanted to address. This,
You know, I got a death
I'd
I
like
got a
private
death
property
threat from the
rights, and this
NRA in
no way,
April.
in no way affects
And,
your private property
I thought about
rights to
it,
do
and
whatever
I-
you want,
and I called the
whether it's your home or
FBI.
your business or anything
and I played
that
that
you
death,
control that way.
Death threats.
So my phone will
And,
stop ringing. I just would like to make one thing clear. There was a reference to an assault weapon. We'd like to have that definition one day. assault weapon would be described in the dictionary by any weapon used in an assault. That's not what we're
Oh,
talking
get
about
off
here. We're
my
talking about our
ear.
right to carry our
And
firearms.
I don't think
in a
I don't think
peaceable
you're a
manner,
veteran. I
wherever we go
am.
normally.
I know what they can
And
do.
this is a good
An
bill,
AR-15
should pass.
is
I would
lethal
appreciate your green light.
killing range of
It is closed.
5,000
Question is, House Bill
meters.
376 passed the House.
It fires at 3,000 feet per second. And you get hit by one of those things,
Clerk will lock shooting
it's
members'
incredible
casseroles.
what damage it does. Just ask anybody that was in Las Vegas during the Mandalay mass shooting. In 10 minutes, he killed 58 people.
Has every member voted? Has
Look
any
at all
members
these
changed their
people
vote?
afraid of the
Reader.
National Rifle Association.
Clerk will lock the machine and record the roll.
U.S.
56
Senator,
ayes, 10 nay,
former
4
U.S.
absent,
Senator Larry
none.
Craig is
4
on the
absent,
board of
excused.
directors
Majority
of the
vote in favor of
National
House Bill
Rifle
376,
Association.
House Bill
It's a
376
political
to pass the House.
organization.
Is there a correction title?
No correction to title.
Hearing none, the title is approved. Bill will be transferred to the Senate.
You know, that's really something. I come from a family of veterans, and this is sucking up to the National Rifle Association. And like Little said in 2018, it's no accident that there are more gun manufacturers in Idaho than any other state per capita.
Excused, the rules are suspended. The House